Hello, welcome.
Welcome.
We are on location, folks. This is our live couples conversation at Mayfair Farms, here in West Orange. Oh, I forgot my hat because it's pretty in pastel. We have to wear these hats here.
Yes.
And your hat is nice.
Thank you.
From Coach.
Thank you.
Mine is, my wife hates this hat,
Why?
She said, because I have a weird head. And so therefore it looks weird in the back.
Well,
you think it looks weird?
I don't know. I think for me, I would want it to be worn the opposite way.
How's that?
I don't know, because I feel like the back of the hat should be the front of the hat, and the front of the hat should be the back of the hat.
That's just you. That's just your personality.
That's just
backwards.
Backwards. Always backwards, but always awesome.
So this has been a wonderful event so far. We've been here trying to promote couples conversations for you guys, and I'm just blown away by the the women here.
Yeah. Oh, they're so amazing. There's so many different women here from different walks of life. You have ministers. You have I met one interesting woman. She's an actress. She's does theater. She's a minister. She's a child of a bishop. She was married to a pastor. So a lot of just really amazing, influential women in one place celebrating, them. It's awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And no competition. All love.
I'm really hoping that you guys can hear us out there. That would be horrible if that was the case.
Right.
So
if you can hear us, give us a thumbs up or a hey, we can hear you. That would be great.
Let me just see. If they can't hear us, we'll just have to delete it. What can you do?
Delete it and do it again.
What's on the agenda for today?
So we promoted the show. We're going to be doing the lowdown on having sex with married men.
Yes. Oh.
One woman's tale of her not extramarital affair. She was divorced, but only sought to have sex with married men after her divorce.
And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. We kind of gave you a preview on that.
Right. And then we're going to talk about a Rocket Mortgage commercial and how that kind of speaks to some gender role reversals.
Yeah, because I was blown away by this commercial.
Yeah, you should have seen him when he showed it to me. His face was all like, oh my gosh, he's so crazy.
Yes.
And then we're going to also explore men's need to be touched non-sexually and how there's really no avenue for them to discuss that and how they can start to get that point across.
Yes, and because, it's an eye-opener because you guys think we always want sex all the time, and that may not be the case. There is definitely a connection, and the lack of connection is kind of complicating, I think, kind of men's psyche and then how they deal with conflict.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great. So, hey, let's get into it.
Okay. So what do you want to hit first?
Let's hit the New York Times.
The New York Times article.
Yeah. That
one was a very dicey kind of article, and I was reading it, and it was pretty interesting. She had mentioned that she had just gone through a divorce, and she really didn't want to get back into being attached.
Right.
So she didn't want a relationship, but she wanted sex. So she figured the best way to do that was to pair up with married men because they would want to have sex and not want anything more. They would basically want no strings attached. So that was an ad that she posted. She said she got some hits from single men, but mostly from married men. And she, I guess, contemplated it for a while and then realized that that would make the most sense because they're not going to leave their wives and they have children, mortgages. So they would have a lot to lose if they got overly emotionally involved. And so that was how she started having
these
affairs with these married men, because they are affairs. I mean, even though she's not, technically having an affair, she is having an affair. But so it was quite interesting to read a little bit about that.
So what is that saying? That's because she was feeling a need for these men. These men were not receiving these things at home. Right. And it kind of does go into the touching thing, that we'll segue into later, because it wasn't always sexual.
Right.
It was that she fulfilled a need.
Right.
that was missing in their relationships.
Right. She did speak about how some men their wives had just stopped having sex with them altogether. So they really needed a release. They needed,
right.
And not just a physical release, but a place where they could feel intimate, a place where they could touch. Some married men that she was with, their women were physically incapable of having sex anymore due to either illness or injury or what have you.
Right.
And then there were just some men that just wanted to have extra sex because they wanted not to be in the stresses of being married and having to be the father, the husband, and a caretaker in that aspect
right.
as well. And they wanted to escape that for a while and just, live a little.
So from that point of view, though, how do you feel about that as a wife?
As a wife, it's funny because there was a movie a long time ago called Hall Pass.
Oh, the Hall Pass. Yeah, I never saw it, but I remember it.
It was a great movie, and I remember I was married at the time when it came out, and I remember after seeing the movie, I jokingly said to my husband, I think I want a Hall Pass next week, or
Did he see the movie?
No.
Well, he's like, what do you need a Hall Pass for?
He didn't see it. But I kind of briefed him on what it was.
Okay.
And then I was just like, no, wait, I don't want the Hall Pass for next week, but I'm going to Vegas with my girlfriends in a month or so, and I'll take the Hall Pass then. He's just like, if you need a Hall Pass, then don't come home.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, and that's my husband's accent, by the way.
So there you go. That ended that.
So that ended that conversation. But as a wife, I can kind of understand sometimes where it would be kind of exciting to think like you could get away or escape your life for a moment and feel like you're wanted and desired again. And I could see a man wanting the same thing, wanting to feel desired and wanted again,
right,
in a relationship that might have grown stagnant or cold or stale or what have you, or less obligatory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because after you've been married for so long, sometimes it does feel like an obligation. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm married. So yes, I must have sex 3.5 times a week, and I must do it this way. And, so it becomes stale. It becomes routine. So I can see it. Would I condone it? Maybe.
But the thing is, couples, there's just that communication piece is really missing. Because, so we just don't know how to tell our partners, like, look, this is something that I need to have. I need to have sex.
Right.
I need to have sex. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go outside of the relationship. And that's a hard thing to swallow, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think from an ego standpoint, it's like, wait,
I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. Yeah, I'm not enough, or I need to be this way.
Right.
I was like, or look, I'm tired.
Right. And that goes both ways. Women also have an ego when it comes to sex as well. So it's not just men having an ego. It's also women as well. Women will feel if their mate says to them, I need to have sex this amount of time or this way or what have you, the woman will feel the same way. Like, I'm not, what do you mean I'm not enough? I do everything that I think is great. And then, so just as much as men feel that egotistical side of, I should be enough for her, the woman feels the same way towards a man. So it does all come back to conversation and communication.
But the thing that they were missing was, because I don't think, it may have been the sex for her, but I don't know if it was all necessarily that for them. Well, I think it's because they didn't want to break up their families either.
Right.
But there was just no outlet. And maybe that's a good thing because they could keep it, because it's not like it was, I'm getting the sense it wasn't out in the open either.
Right. It wasn't. And she did state that. Yeah. She did state at one point in the article when she was speaking to one of the gentlemen, like, why not just tell your wife that you need this outside of your marriage in order for your marriage to still be a marriage? And he's just like, no, she's been out of the workforce for 10 years raising our kids. It would kill her if I asked her if I could do this outside of the marriage.
Right.
And so he's she had stated, so you'd rather lie to her than to ask for something. And he's like, well, I'm not really lying to her. I'm just not sharing the truth with her, which is basically a lie of omission. So she did say she never convinced any of the men that she was with to be honest with their wives of what they really needed from the relationship.
But I think they also think that their wives are not going to be able to handle that.
Right. And I think they'd be surprised at how many wives would probably be able to deal with it.
I don't. I think if they would, I think women would really take offense.
You think?
Because they're like, look, I'm taking care of your ass. Sorry.
He swore.
I'm taking, but that's because the anger's going to come out.
It's coming out,
taking care of you, taking care of your kids.
Right.
And working, and then you feel that you need to go off and get kind of have a release.
Right.
Or to feel, I don't know, whole.
But also in her article, she had stated that more women as well nowadays are initiating more affairs than men are. So you could put the shoe on the other foot.
Now the women aren't feeling whole?
Right. Because they're doing all this stuff and the man's not taking care of them. So now what do? They also do the same thing that the men have been doing for generation upon generation upon generation. So
but I think that could be more of a control thing. I'm taking control of my, life. I got the power now. I can go out and do this just like you and still feel, you know what I mean? So I think
still come home and be a wife and a mother?
Yeah, still and do all that.
But it's okay for her to do that, to take control, but it's not okay for him to take control. Because then her anger would come out. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Well, I mean,
in a good way.
Take control. But the other was like, there's going to be, you always have the control. We always have the control to do that. I mean, it's tough either way. I think it's more boils down to conversation not being, the conversation just not being had.
Right. And I think it also boils down.
I know couples right now, they just can't, they'd rather I'd just rather go off and do my thing.
Right.
And, the chips are falling where they may.
They're always going to fall.
And eventually those things are found out.
Yeah.
And it's a tough thing to kind of talk about.
Because when they're found out, then it's not so much the actual act. It's more so the trust that was broken.
Yeah.
And that issue would have been taken care of if the communication had been upfront and spoken about. So, if you have been watching our shows for the past few shows, there was one where we spoke about, speaking about your desires and we talked about non-sexual and sexual desires and why is it so taboo to talk about that? And, if more couples would get together and speak about their intimate desires and sexual desires, then maybe less of this would happen in the future.
There's not an outlet for that.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you had that outlet to be able to speak to your partner, men and women, to say, this is what I need and this is what I'm not getting, you know what I mean? And so can we work on that? Then maybe there would be less numbers of affairs. And I'm just speaking hypothetically because I'm not going to do any scientific proof or research or clinical study on it. But I'm just saying, more communication.
There's some out there though. Yeah.
There is some. And you guys are happy to look for it. And maybe we will at one point as well. But, the more communication you have, the better standing you have within your relationship. Always.
Well, yep. So then that kind of just segues away to the whole touching.
Yes.
There's a study that I read, I think Thursday, about touching and non-sexual. It was a company that created a business where people could just go and just hug.
Wow.
And touch.
How awkward.
There's called couplet, I think.
Couplet?
Yeah. Go in this, you can go into this room, if you and touch and hug, and that's all you get. But you get transformed. So we're gonna send you down there.
No.
You know how they.
You're not gonna send me.
No,
I'm not gonna be anybody's little guinea pig. That's not gonna happen.
What do you mean guinea pig?
Not gonna happen.
So
no couplet.
So the question was out there. Do you need or desire touch in a non-sexual way?
Right.
And the fascinating thing about that was that there are men out there that are struggling in this area. One, because if you think about it, the only person that they can really probably touch like that is their family members.
Right.
But what if they don't have any family members?
Right. And we were speaking about this a little earlier when we were preparing for the show. And, Keith brought up some good points where, if you just go around touching women, then you're creepy.
Yeah.
If you're touching children, then you're like pedophilia or what have you. And then if you touch other guys, then you're like gay. So it's really, if you're in a relationship, that it works, to caress somebody. Or in sports.
So guys can touch each other on the butt and high five and hug and cry and stuff in a sports arena.
Right, but that's it. That's it. And then the paint to the butt.
And so that's tough.
And that is tough because what if you're not an athletic type of individual?
Right.
What if you don't care for sports? And then you don't have a significant other and you don't have, like you said, family, or you have family, but you're not close or you're not in the same state.
Right.
And you don't see them all the time. So I, for one, being totally transparent, neglect that aspect in my relationships because I think I don't like public displays of affection. I don't like really most displays of affection.
Right.
So
so imagine how a husband is feeling because in essence, this is the most time to be intimate with your partner because you're not going to have sex all the time anyway.
Right.
I mean,
that's unrealistic.
Unless you do it, even if you did it every night. I mean, it's going, it's 7, days a week. So this is probably the most time you can always be close, always hug, and feel a closeness with your partner.
Right.
But I think also one of the things that's out there is, and the assumption is that if you start hugging or touching your spouse, that it's automatically going to go to the bedroom.
Right.
And so it's avoided.
Right.
But that may not necessarily be the case, right?
It may not necessarily be the case.
Yeah. And so, and you should share your experience, just like, you went to the movies and, right? Look at you smiling, and so.
Well, I mean, it was just different. Like I said, I'm not one that engages in non-intimate touching. I'm not a very affectionate individual.
You're
for the most part.
The ice queen.
Ice queen.
Yes.
I think I've described myself fondly. But so we were at the movies and we went to see Acrimony, which I totally loved. Mm-hmm. And he didn't, by the way. But at one point I just reached over and I placed my hand on my husband's thigh, and he immediately grabbed it and pressed it into his thigh. And at that moment I realized, like, wow, okay, so there was a void. He needed a touch. Like, I just did it because I was like, okay. I needed someplace to put my hand. Really, I did. I just
a little rest.
Because the soda was in the cup, and then the cup holder, and my hand was a little awkward. So I just
we're gonna continue to work with her, y'all.
So I really needed a place to put my hand. Is how it happened.
Yes,
that's how it happened. And then when he reached for it and tenderly, really, just grabbed it and embraced it. Then I thought to myself, like, oh, okay. And then I thought to the question that we had, and I said, oh, well, all right.
And so he felt a tingly.
I guess I don't know what he felt. I didn't ask him.
You didn't feel a tingle.
I didn't feel a tingle though.
So have you ever felt the tingly from a hug?
No.
Because there is you do get that sense when you really a nice little embrace. I know from my wife when we hug, there is a different feeling that you get when you do that.
Okay.
And so,
pray for me, y'all.
Yeah, I'm sure husbands felt like, when you did that, even if it was there for a while, he felt a sense of comfort that you were there. You guys were there together.
Right. Yeah.
And it's that connection that, if things are ice cold in your relationship, hugging and touching in those non-sexual ways can really start to break down those barriers.
Right.
And so, especially if that's that sex thing is a barrier in your marriage, maybe you should just start with that. Okay. Start with hugging, and then maybe totally progress, but you not only will see a change in yourself, but also in your partner as well. Yeah. And it's not about sex all the time. Right. Even though as younger, we kind of you kind of learn that as the move.
Okay, but I didn't know the move, so Keith was explaining it to me as the move. Like that's what guys would do.
You got to start out. You kind of holding hands.
Right.
And,
I didn't know that.
Before you know it, you either go to one side, the female side,
didn't know that.
Or the female hand goes to the other. But I'm not gonna give away all the secrets. But that's just the way. Especially as you're younger, like what are you gonna do? You're not gonna just totally go hog wild in the movie theater.
Some people, I don't know.
So there you
I didn't know the move. Because you
guys have heard the move. I hope you have. If you please comment.
Yeah,
if you have heard of the move.
I didn't know about the move. I wasn't entertaining any types of moves.
So the ice started early.
Yeah, the ice started early. I mean, I literally would sit in the movie theater, legs crossed, arms crossed, and then if my arms weren't crossed, they were across my lap. So there was no moves.
You had the barrier.
I was brought up devout Roman Catholic. There was no.
Okay. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, no moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow.
No moves. And I still had to go home to my father, so
Okay. All right.
Ain't nobody touching nothing.
I get it.
Ever.
I get it.
So so that kind of the ice built early.
Yes, I get it.
So now it's like the ice caps of wherever. So it's gonna take millions of years to melt.
Yeah, and that really helps.
Helps. And it's true. I mean, and it was just interesting to see his reaction and to not even really see it because we were at the movie theater, but just to feel the difference, his reaction to that. And I was like, wow. And it brought me right back to that question. So, and I said, okay, there's a little credence to what that question was really talking about. So
if you're out there, give a hug, not a pat, a hug, deep embrace, 5 minutes, that may be long, but
that's a long hug.
A minute,
awkward.
A minute
is awkward.
I mean, okay, but 30, okay, as long as you don't do that.
Yeah, he's making fun of me because I said I hugged my daughter like 3 times and I did one of these.
Yeah.
And he said, that's not a hug.
No, but even when you get that, because my wife has done that. It's like, okay, son, I touch you, but you messed up or something.
Right.
So, that was like, okay, I know you existed.
Yeah.
Right now.
So that's what I did. I did you existed. Oh. Well, at least I knew she was existing.
So, but you don't want to let us know he's existing. The kids get different. But,
Last you get more than
the kids
existing?
usually will get more than the husband or the wife.
So last can exist?
No, last can do more than exist. It's not a.
I like the.
You see the difference?
I like the. Can I just go Wakanda forever and then just keep going?
No. So, and then.
All right.
So so then that just leads to very interesting commercial, which I'll probably post it because it was fascinating. So there's a new Rocket Mortgage commercial, and it shows a young woman. She's probably in her early 20s.
No.
She was early 20s.
No.
Late 20s.
She was like early 30s.
No way.
Yes.
Okay, early 30s. I don't believe so, but
he's a man. He wouldn't know. Early 30s.
Early 30s, and she had on headphones, and so she's going through knocking out the mortgage. She's just a superhero, and she's able to do the mortgage thing, and then when she finally gets home and they get the mortgage in the home, she her husband is there with the baby, holding the baby, and they're like their first home. Right. So I was very, not necessarily blown away. She's going to say blown away.
He was blown away.
But I was very, it was just interesting the gender roles that they had in this commercial, because it had to be dealing with finance.
Right.
That's usually, from a man's perspective. And then the fact that it was great that they actually had a family.
Right.
Family, because that's usually not the case.
It's usually not the case.
I just assumed it was going to be the female.
Right.
And she's knocking out, and then she'd be in her first home.
And her own home, right.
Yeah. But then the fact that they had the husband there holding the baby. Yeah. So it's like, wow.
Yeah, that was good.
And then so I was thinking, I was like, okay.
And he was happy just holding the baby.
He was happy though. But was it? But is so in America? So is there a shifting of roles for? I was just because it's African American families that now it's the men that are staying home by choice, or was it because he couldn't find a job?
So, and that's an interesting dichotomy if you look at it that way. But I think some men are choosing to stay home by choice. Mm-hmm. I think some men are still going to find it tough to find a job. Some Black, men, African men are going to find it hard to find a job because it's still a very Caucasian brotherhood out there, and there's still intimidation for the male Black man in corporate America. So there's always that our brothers go up against. But as far as, getting a mortgage, finding a mortgage, that's a definite gender reversal, a role reversal, because it is typically the men who would have gone out and found the mortgage, and dealt with all of that aspect in the past. And, women now are doing more, becoming more, leading more, taking a hold of a lot more. And a lot of it is due to diversity campaigns within organizations. They want to see women of color, women of different nationalities at the top. Every organization now wants to prove that they have a certain level of diversity. So they're making ways for women of color and different ethnicities to get to that pinnacle of their career.
But I really did think that it was a kind of a slight, though, a little bit, because they could have both been doing it.
They could have both been doing it.
They could have both been knocking out.
They could have both been knocking out everything. Yeah.
But they left them to the very end, like they threw him in. To me, it felt like they kind of threw it in at the last minute.
I don't think that. I think that they wanted to give the woman the opportunity to shine on this one. I think they just really wanted women to see that you can have a great career, do what you're doing, you know what I mean, and a husband and a child, and still be able to have that nucleus.
So
of
that's
that
an
family.
interesting perspective. So you thought that because they're really gearing towards women to say, look, you can go after.
Absolutely.
You can go after. You can be comfortable.
Yes.
Going after this mortgage.
Yes, and that you'll still have your man there.
Yeah, and still have your husband
to support you.
Because
a lot of women, and I've been, I could say I've been a person who's done this myself. A lot of times we dummy ourselves down because we are fearful that whatever we're doing, and if we're in a different position or a higher position than the person that we're with, we're going to intimidate the man that we're with. So we'll dim our light a little bit so that we can allow our men to shine a little bit brighter than we will. So I think this commercial really just shows the fact that this woman was able to shine and still have her husband and her family, and it's not going to upset the balance of that family. That, in every relationship, there's a time when the woman's going to shine and there's a time when the husband's going to shine. So this was her time to shine.
And someone commented this week about it, that, sometimes the men do feel emasculated because now they really have no say in the finances, on how finances are run, because it's like, okay, and maybe it's on our parts, but I think also we don't have those role models to say it's okay so let's just say we look at male from male perspective on how men are supposed to be, and then we have to use a kind of a white male as a role model for that. If we use a white male, they are the dominant, as far as they take control of that. This is their avenue, and so. But then also from a black male perspective, the people that are doing that are their entertainer, people that they look up to,
they're idols.
So we don't see the female, at least the ones that we will see on TV, taking control of that aspect, and then man coming from behind or being there as support, a support role, which is fascinating, right? Because I can't even think of any. Let's just use stars, because they would be the one on TV, where they show there's a man behind the scenes, as support. Isn't that fascinating?
It's very fascinating. But I think this would have been a great, or maybe a first great step where it shows a man in a supportive role to the wife going out, getting the mortgage and what have you.
Maybe they should have hugged.
Maybe they should have. Or
maybe
at least
hugged, or at least high-fived.
High-fived, or, you know.
Say that we're together.
I mean, she did turn around and smile.
Yes, she did. And
he smiled at him, and he was cheesing the whole
time.
The whole time.
Baby, you got
He's
this.
like, you got this, baby. I'm so proud of you, baby. Like, the thing. So, and I think, you know, a man shouldn't feel emasculated by that. If his wife went out and got the mortgage and what have you for the house, and he's at home with the baby, and who knows? I mean, he might not have been a stay-at-home father, but even if he was, if it's a true partnership, and you and I always come back to this, the true partnership, the communication is going to be there. And we know that finances are always a big thing. And that leads back to the couples convo question that you had. When is it too soon to talk about finances? And pretty much everybody said from the door, you know, from the door.
Some people are still uncomfortable.
Some people are still uncomfortable.
It can be a little tricky.
It could be.
I think
and that goes back to the conversations we've had where it depends on what kind of financial role models you had growing up. And so that's an issue there. So she might have had a fantabulous financial role model growing up. Her father might have been great, or her mother might have been the great one.
Absolutely.
And, you know, maybe he didn't have so many great financial role models. So she took over and said, I'm going to do this for us. You know what I mean? So then he wouldn't or shouldn't have a need to feel emasculated. You know, if somebody's strength is finances, then let them thrive in their strength. Let them run that race. And if your strength at the moment is taking care of the kids.
Well, and that's where this stuff has to be talked about in the beginning. That's why we do it. That's why we're doing couples conversations. Yeah, you have to have these conversations. Don't let them be uncomfortable. Because this will strengthen your relationships.
On all levels.
On all levels going forward. So, I think that's it. But we will be. I'm going to post that commercial. And you know, you guys feel free to comment on it because it's fascinating, and we're really looking forward to you know, it and talking about it. Other topics further. We do have an interesting topic coming up in 2 weeks because it's Mother's Day.
It's Mother's Day, so we have a lot of stuff.
We're going to deal with that, and it's great. Remember that in April 30th will be the last. Will be the last time to purchase your couples conversation retreat tickets before they go up. So feel free to, you know, go to that, go to the link. I'll post the link again. But you know, it's really going to be great. And did I say you look good in your hat, by the way?
Thank you. You did. And I said you look good in your hat.
Yeah. So like just a shout out to Diva Zone for hosting our couples convo offsite meeting.
First remote one.
Great. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Okay.